And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of hiccups here tonight. Hope you don't mind the changing view here as we get ready. Welcome in. It's RGR Football. We are talking Chiefs on Monday night like we always do. I just got off a plane a little bit late and had to hurry home so that we could get here for this. Dan's running late as well. So we are going to get after it. But this is the thing that as we take a look at what happened in OTAs and we get to this point, that the whole, and I mean the whole problem the NFL should be worried about is they want to bring the actual offense back. And I know we've heard them say that before. We've heard them say a lot of happy things. Well, they're serious this time. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm Ryan. This is RGR Football. If you've never seen me before, I've been covering this team going on 20 years. I'm an old strength and conditioning coach, coached many positions. Mostly on defense, I will admit, but through the years at various levels, and love this team. I've covered them for a long time. My strength and conditioning background kind of shades everything that I see, and I'll tell you what I think from the bottom of my heart and straight up front, period. Thank you for being here. If you don't know me, if you do, then you guys know the drill. Welcome to Monday night. Nice to see you, Night Hunter. Nice to see you, Terry. Good to see everybody in here. I know I'm gathering some questions tonight. At least for the time being, maybe for the whole stream, it might just be me. So we're just going to roll with that. If you want on the channel tonight, hit the super chats. Everyone gets an answer, and I'm going to try to address the bulk of the topics. Otherwise, I'm going back in time a little bit right now and gathering some of the things that were entered as questions earlier. So don't mind me while I'm doing that. But this is what keeps hitting me as I talk to folks. Devere Walker, nice name. I like that one. I had a friend with that name a while ago as well. And cheers. Nice to see it. Experimenting with this chat. Where is it? Over here for you guys to see live as well. I hope that doesn't take us astray ever. Sometimes I think we're safe tonight because it's just us in here. But, you know, post-game Raiders, I probably won't turn that on. I'm just saying. We're going to gather these questions up. But as I was talking with people, and I've been on the road quite a bit lately, I was in New Orleans. I just got back from Atlanta, so kudos to everybody down there at the varsity and the places that I was hanging out at. Appreciate you all, and a lot of conversations around football and around what we're seeing in the initial let go. If you guys have not checked out Matt, Derek, and his podcast with Nick, make sure you do that. It's called 41 is the Mic. Matt will be back on with me this week over on Locked On Chiefs. But he had great, insight. And he and I talk offline as well, so that not in front of the cameras all the time. But really, a lot of what we have hoped for is starting to come around. And I think the biggest thing, the thing that should scare the NFL, is that they really want to bring this back. They want to air it out a little bit more. And that doesn't necessarily mean deep bombs to Tyreek trying to get behind everybody, but they do want to stretch the field. And there are ways that you can attack 3 and 4 high, even true cover 4, where you have some pretty narrow windows down there. There's still ways to attack it. And flooding is a concept that we'll talk about as we get closer to the season. But one thing boils down to any way that you're going to attack deep safeties and deep quarters is you need speed. Speed kills. And you need to be able to get the protection, as we always talk about, for Mahomes, so that he can get to the point that he drops back like he is in the thumbnail for this video, so that he is in a position to let it rip and let it fly down there. And then what you do is you take defenders out of their roles. You push them either through rules or through just sheer athleticism out of their comfort zones. You put the ball where they can't get it and where your guys can. And I think one guy that I mentioned must have been, good Lord, 3 months ago? Yeah, just after the Super Bowl. I told you guys, one of the most intriguing players that I was interested in, it's been on the practice squad, that didn't get much play, didn't get a chance much last year, was Tyquan Thornton. And because the athleticism profile lends itself to being somebody that can help downfield. much like Xavier Worthy, the quality that they share is the ability to track the ball without having to disrupt their route running. To be able to get over your shoulder and catch the ball in front of you without having to turn your shoulders, slow your route down, and actually a lot of times, either cut your route off or vary it away from where the ball is being targeted. That's a skill. It's not measurable. It's not something that you put on a clock and get a 40-yard dash with, but it is a skill. Tracking the ball overhead in order to make yourself available to your quarterback in a spot that the defense cannot be, that's key, especially if you're trying to either blow past a quarter's outside corner or if you're trying to ride that seam, which is very, very tight. You get other cross patterns that are going to be very, very important. Those days when we saw a lot of the pre-wasp action, where you saw those deep overs, those can be helpful as well. There are ways to stress a defense, even if they're playing cover 4, cover 6, cover 9 back there. You can push them. And I think it takes a village, especially on this roster, that includes a guy like Thornton. And I'm very intrigued. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that they're starting to make some chemistry. Now, Patrick Mahomes also, according to Matt and a couple of other bystanders, we'll call them, beat reporters, were able to make a connection with, he was able to make a connection with Jalen Rose as well. And that seems to be something that they're putting invested interest into. That goes a long way as well. So being able to get to that point where you're bringing along these relationships with the quarterback, that's what you're looking for. That's honestly what it has to be. And I'm going to be pulling up some stats tonight. I'm going to be showing you guys some things that really stand out to me, because at the end of the day, that's the insight that we're trying to feed off. What everyone else doesn't know around the league. And just that fact, what they don't know should probably scare them. And I think that's a good place to be in this time of year. I do like that question, Dan, and I've got a bunch stacked. So just let me pull up one more thing here, stats-wise, and I will let you know where we get started with what we're really trying to get into, and that's your questions, answering them as blatantly as we can, and giving you the real opinion that honestly you need to know. And there's a couple of things that do stand out to me that I want to get back to, but I'm going to leave that for when a question comes up. Excuse me, a little under the weather here. The plane ride was not that easy. So as we see the live chat keep going, keep putting your questions in there, but we're going to go back to Christo, who's the first question that I found. Did Travis really have a down year like we think, or was it because the defense only had to focus on him due to injury? That was certainly a factor. Now, the only argument that I would make that it wasn't all of one, and I don't think it was 50-50, is because you saw as they came back, Travis got loose a couple times, but as they got more guys back, and obviously Rasheed never returned in 2024. That's okay. But when Hollywood got back, it didn't change a ton, right? And that should have been a formidable target to loosen up Travis. So I think he probably got a little caught up, and I would say that was probably a slight downturn. But I don't think it's because of age. I think it was a bit of distraction, probably a bit of training time. And I do think that he's going to be able to get back into better shape than he was in last year and only have the age to deal with. So, and I know if he really feels that this is it for him, I do believe that he is going to put his all into it. And that's going to be the bottom line for him, is going out at the top of his game with the most that he can bring to the table. That's what I believe about Travis Kelce. Go out in style, if you want to call it that, whatever you refer to it. I do believe that. Thank you. Great question, Krista. Scott, thank you. Are Mahomes and Kelce more likely to strengthen their passing game or their golf game? Well, I think their golf game is probably going to make its strides during the summers like it should. I don't know how serious they both are. I think they're both decent golfers. But that game takes a lot of time, and time is one thing that is of precious little right now. So I believe that will probably hold off until Mahomes retires as well. And then you might see him on branded golf carts and doing all kinds of craziness. I could definitely see that later on. But the age difference is a factor here, right? Because Travis obviously will get to the end of his NFL road before Patrick gets to the end of his. And then it becomes about kids and time and what you do when you're not working on your primary profession of football. So I think the passing game is going to get strengthened first. Golf game maybe in a few years. Thanks, Scott. Perry, do you think the Chiefs' unwillingness to draft speed rushers hurts our O-line versus speed rushers since they don't see any in practice or the offseason? That's certainly something to consider, although I think part of what they've done to combat that is that they have gone, except for Kingsley last year, for the most part, with experience. So speed rushers are all over the place. They do keep a couple of guys that I would qualify as speed rushers on the practice squad. So BJ Thompson, before his heart issue, was on this roster to be a speed rusher. Technically, Josh Uche was brought in to be a speed rusher. So you get a little bit of that element in the practice situations, which is important, Perry, and I'm glad you bring it up. But I do think the experience factor is a bigger one because the guys that they have manning the tackles, other than Kingsley Suamataia last year, had seen pass rushers from other teams as speed rushers before. And so once you've done that, you have an idea of where they're going. Could they use more reps? Certainly. And I, for one, am always in favor of having someone that can beat a tackle to a spot. Speed rush is important. It does kill, and it is necessary. I think that was pretty evident last year. Swag, nice to see you. I don't want Pat to get tunnel vision with Kelsey. In 22, Pat did a great job distributing the ball around. I agree. And I think the more options you give him that are legitimate and not pushing them into a role that maybe they are and maybe they aren't ready for, is how you get away from that. So Rashee Rice's return is going to be absolutely critical to this offense continuing to evolve. Picking up with Xavier Worthy where you left off is going to be critical to how this evolution that we see this year goes off, or if it goes off. Because if you don't get either of those things, or if there's a serious hiccup with those, that becomes problematic because then you're down to Kels and Hollywood. And you want Royals to pick it up, but you don't want to force Royals into a role. You don't want to force Royals into being the next Rashee Rice because Rashee Rice gets suspended. I don't feel like that's going to happen right now. Everything that I've heard off the field is that we don't expect an actual suspension for Rashee Rice this season. Are we right? You tell me. It's going to be something that we find out together, quite frankly. And from my point of view, the sooner the better. I'd rather know now than waiting. That's just the way that I function, and I would rather be squared away so that I can make whatever arrangements I need to. But back to your question, he did distribute the ball better. He had more options to do so. Now, the big question is, I think really the icing on the cake, the targets are still going to be there. I think Rashee Rice will be back and everyone should be around. What happens with Wiley, we don't know. He's only watching practice at this point. The big question is, what can you get on the table for Brashard Smith as a rookie? I don't think it's going to be a whole lot early. I think we're going to see a similar progression to what we've seen with Rashee and with Xavier the last 2 years, that it's little bits and pieces. It's, we'll hit you when they're not looking because they're concentrating on everything else. Some opportunistic plays to be made. But I think he really comes into his own and they really start to work him in later in the season after the bye. Now, do I wish it was a week 12 or week 13 bye? Yes, but 10 I'll take. And it gives them an opportunity to get halfway through the season and then make adjustments. And I think that's critical. So we're going to see how it goes. But I do think that they are on a similar path. And because there's no Jet on this roster, Jet McKinnon, that is, I do think that that's a role that you really do want to see come back in the offense because there's no answer for it. If you take everybody else away that's out in the field, the running back is a guy, if he can exploit, he will get you yards. He will make big plays. And I think Jet McKinnon did a great job of showcasing that. Alex, nice to see you. Does the 2 blowout losses in the Super Bowl hurt Mahomes' legacy more than Brady's 2 losses to Eli? I do not think so, because specifically, and the way that the history has been written, is that he had no chance to do anything in either of those games. The offensive line collapsed in both those games, and the pressure that he faced, I think, lets him off the hook. And I think it may not happen in the eyes of fans, but in the eyes of Hall of Fame voters, I don't think that hurts him at all, because they understand what he was working with and what he was not working with. And that's, I think, going to be the bottom line for him. Thanks, Alex. Thank you, Terry. Members jumping in with a bunch of great questions tonight. Thank you, guys. How is Rashee Rice overcoming 8 felony charges? Well, I know that he was sought. I don't know the legal standing of any of them, and I don't know if there is anything beyond the initial inquiries. I have not heard any update of any continuation. Now, I haven't heard any dismissals either. So we just don't know. And I don't know if it is a lack of evidence, a lack of prosecutorial desire. I don't know. Honestly, I should round back in with Seth to get his legal opinion, because he has a legal opinion. I do not. I can give you a I won't even say medical. I can give you a healthcare point of view, but I can't give you a legal one because I don't know jack. So I know just enough to be absolutely dangerous. But I do think whether they proceed to charge and arraign him on that, I know he's out on bail. I think that's, I don't even know if those terms are correct. But proceeding with prosecution, I think, is what's up in the air at this point. I think that's why, until something is more solid, I don't think the NFL is going to act. And I can't say I agree with that in principle, but for this team, I will say that I'm thankful for that. Swag, do you think the O-line will be better or worse or the same as last year's? I'm a little nervous about the O-line change in my mind. Well, I feel as a unit, as a 5, meaning what it allows the quarterback to do on a week-to-week basis, how many times he's able to stand for 4 seconds, I believe it will be better. Mostly because of the left tackle spot. The interior, they will not be as good interiorly. They will not be as dominant inside as they have been, because Joe Thuney isn't on this roster. But what you lose in Joe Thuney, hopefully you make up for. I do think overall, as a 5-man group and what it allows Patrick to do, I think will be better. Okay, thank you, Brendan. I appreciate you. Thank you, Night Honor. So it's a step back at one position, but maybe a slight step up for all 5 as a unit. Okay, let's hope that maintains. And once again, apologies. Spring storms will get the better of you here. Dub Freak, nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for the support here with the super chat. If Kingsley doesn't work out at left guard, who would be the best fit other than Caliendo? Anybody that they could trade for? Oof, that's a great question. I believe that Norzad is the next man up. I believe he will be a better player than Mike Caliendo. They respect the veterans. They value the veterans, and they're going to give the veterans a run. They're going to let them compete. If Kingsley falls out and they no longer want to let him compete, I think Norzad and Caliendo would then become the competition in training camp. That's my thought. And this is all predicated on Trey Smith being back and working out with the team, either on the tag or on a newly minted extension. New contract, actually. It wouldn't be an extension because it's already expired and he's on the tag. So I really do think that Norzad is a guy that can play in this league. If Kingsley wins this job, and you have Creed and you have Trey, Norzad probably this season wouldn't be the primary backup. I think it would still be Caliendo. But unless or until Trey signs a long-term deal and you have Kingsley on a rookie deal, and the other two on long-term vet deals. Other than that, I think Norzad is going to be in a position to compete at some point on the inside at one position or another. Obviously, with Creed already signed, it would be at guard. And I think that's okay. I do think Norzad, much like Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley, have gone on to other places to start for other teams, and I do think Norzad is that caliber of player. He was drafted day 3 lower than I had him because I believe in some other systems he could be a starter already. I do believe that that's true. So we're going to see what happens. Thanks for the support, pal. Appreciate you, and good to see you. Swag, I got yours. So when will that franchise tag get done? That's a great question. Now, he signed it. So Trey Smith has signed the franchise tag. He is ready to play on it. They don't have to do anything else for Trey Smith to play on this tag this year. He will be in Kansas City. The only thing that can happen is that they can sign a long-term deal, remove the tag, and get that done. That is the hope. When will that happen? My guess is if it happens, it will be right before training camp. Much like Chris Jones in the holdout year, it will happen just as it needs to happen. Now, I don't know the current situation. If the thought is that Trey's not in OTAs, I thought he was there, but evidently I misread that. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, or if there's an impact there, or if that's just was a known factor that the team knew about that we didn't. That could be true. But I think deadlines are going to make this deal and push it, and I really hope that they can come to an understanding so that they can get that done, because that allows them to do a lot of other things. That will allow them to reduce his salary cap hit this year, which means you could go do something else, like a trade, as we were talking about a little bit before, because right now I don't have a guard that I would go trade for, but soon, as the fresh crop starts to come in, we'll start hearing about, hey, they could do a post June 1, or they could trade a player, etc. We will get some options there, and I think that that is coming. I just don't know if there are upgrades right now. So if there were, look for the team to look at veteran for sure. Thanks, Scott. Thank you, Niner. Can worry about that much more concerning on who takes Tooney's place at left guard. Yes, definitely are going to have to worry about the offensive line later once you know what that looks like. And unfortunately, with the offensive linemen, we're not going to know until at least the second or third week of training camp. So it's going to take a while, and that's just how it rolls on the offensive line. You have to get the pads on to know what you're dealing with. Everything before that is wishful thinking. That's really all that we can count on, is getting to that point so that we can see. Did you hear Rice was at OTAs today? I did not. I was on a plane or on multiple planes most of the day. I didn't catch up on that. So if he is, that's great. and I hope, I know that there were some excused absences. I believe at least a couple of players were dealing with an illness from being in the building. So they kind of gave it to each other. I think Rasheed was one of them, but I'm not 100% on that. So we will see. And if he was there, then that's a really good sign. Ready to get back on the horse, because I think we're all definitely looking for that, right? So let's cross our fingers, Terry. Buzzed, hope you're doing good. Any chance that the Chiefs will give up any draft capital for Pitts? Can we salvage his career, or is the damage done? Some damage is done. Let's not pretend that it's nothing. But he definitely could salvage his career. Will the Chiefs give up draft capital to do it? I doubt it. Not after they made the investment in Wiley. They have Noah under contract, and now they have Brenningstool that I truly believe they are really going to love. Plus, they have Cup. Like, I don't know that they feel like Pitts could be a Travis successor. I do think their games are different enough that they wouldn't see it one for one, like not enough to give up like significant draft picks for. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to see it. I think it would be super cool to see another athletic guy that can not only win contested catches, but can run good downfield routes and can be another weapon in multiple ways. But will they give up capital for it? That's the hard part to see coming. Terry, Clark Hunt is wanting a dome. Any chance we stay in Missouri or we move in Kansas? I heard he wanted a dome too. Some scuttlebutt around town makes me think maybe they can get that done. I mean, it's certainly, if you want a Super Bowl in Kansas City, I don't think it's ever going to happen at Arrowhead. I just don't think the league will do it. So it makes me lean towards Kansas. But this whole, when politics gets involved, I bow out because you never know what they're going to do or who they're going to pay behind their back or whatever else. So I got nothing. And I'm not saying all politicians are crooked, but most of them are. So we'll see what happens. Daniel, I've heard a lot today about trade talks with the Jets and Falcons for Breece Hall and Kyle Pitts. Are these talks real? And if so, I'd be happy with one or both of them. What do you say? I like both the players. The question is all in the compensation. And I had heard about Breece. I had not picked up on Pitts. Again, I haven't been really paying attention today just because of my travel schedule. It started very, very early, so apologies. But Breece Hall, I had heard rumblings about. And again, this is another case of a running back being taken high that doesn't work out, that they try to get salvage some collateral for. In the end, I don't think they're going to get that very much. This is not a Saquon Barkley situation. And I do think the health is a concern long term. So it makes me feel like a trade is probably unlikely. And if it does happen, it would be for very low value. I don't know what that would look like because it takes one team to kind of lose their mind and fall in love. And maybe somebody does. But the Jets are clearly for taking some steps forward in the draft. This whole debacle with Aaron and just the decision making, I don't know that that's the best thing to counteract any of the problems they've had. It feels like cutting off your nose to spite your face, but we'll see if that actually happens. Now, Pitts, on the other hand, could be a whole different deal. I do think there are other teams in the league that would trade for Kyle Pitts. I don't know why they would do it because, quite frankly, you want as many downfield targets for Penix as possible. I wouldn't even consider it unless there's some kind of internal strife going on in that team with him in particular. Otherwise, I mean, he'd be a Falcon for life if I was running that show because you don't come across athletes like that very often. And you spent on him. You spent top 5 draft capital on Kyle Pitts. You make it work with him, especially when you have a new breed of quarterback here who might be able to wrangle a whole lot more value out of him. I wouldn't take that chance. Again, not being in the room, not being in the building, if he's just a cancer at this point, then you got to move on when you got to move on. But I have heard nothing like that out of Pitts, so I wouldn't say that that's what's going on at this point. At least not from anyone that I'm aware of. Thanks, Daniel. Good to see you, Steve. Hope you're doing good. Would you trade for Tyreek? What would it take? Tyreek is a cash cow. The second question is the bigger one, but would I trade for him? Man, I'd be tempted. I mean, the whole putting the band back together again, the whole Blues Brothers thing, like if you could figure it out and make it work, I mean, at his age, you might have a season or two where it could look like it used to. But that's it. You can't trade first round picks for him. Not at his age. You're not going to get that return. You can't. I'd be tempted to trade a second for him. I'll tell you the truth. I'd be tempted for the whole, hey, get everybody back on the field like the old days kind of thing. But I am a little sentimental, so you got to give me a little bit of slack there. What would it take? He's a cash cow for the Dolphins. The Dolphins will not take less than a 1. I guarantee you, unless they decide that they just have to get rid of him and they'll take whatever they can get. If they see him as the asset that I think they do, I don't think that they would take a non-1 to do that. It would have to be, if they would, it would have to be multiple 2s, would be my guess. And I think they are in a situation with their quarterback that they need to wring every last value out of Tyreek, whether on the field or off or in a trade. So I feel like they'd be they'd be pretty slow to change any of that. Okay, I got a little bit off track here in terms of the order, so let me go back and make sure I get this one. Bradley, nice to see you. So have you heard anything from OTAs that has been any players have stood out so far? A lot of what I've heard has been already put out there by the beat reporters, the guys who have the eyes on. I do talk to a couple of them. So I have a couple of other notes, but nothing that I can really pinpoint right now. And quite frankly, nothing that feels like it's solid. Like, I think, like a lot of years in an Andy Reid OTA, like they're trying some things out. I do think they're going to see what they can get away with in a couple of positions, particularly on the D line. And I do think there's been a couple of pops here or there, and I don't mean Pacheco. A couple of flashes from a couple of players that, again, are circumstantial, but could be meaningful if they're consistent later in training camp and certainly in the season. So give me another week, and I'll start to put more of those together, Brad, and I'll let you guys know here on the channel. Yet another one, too. Have you guys noticed that Kareem Hunt has slimmed down his weight this OTAs? I have not. I mean, it looks a little bit similar, but honestly, good for him. And you can't really blame him because, I mean, he was coming off the couch last year. So as much as you try to train and stay in shape, it's really, really difficult to do when you're not with a team. So good for him. And maybe that'll help because I thought he ran hard and I thought he ran well when they had him, and then he ran out of juice. And I don't know if that's age or shape or a bit of both. So I'm glad that he's around. I think if you're able to use him more sparingly, you'll get more longevity out of him for the season, and I like that concept. Dan Thompson, nice to see you. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I did get a text from Dan. He is not going to make it tonight, so it's just you and me. And I know we're going on half an hour already, and starting to lose my voice. So we're going to keep ripping through these questions, and I'll try not to be so long-winded. Steve asked, does Rashard Smith need to put on more weight to be an every down back? What is the process for him doing that? And yes, he probably would, but I don't see him as that. I don't see him getting to that point. I don't think the team does either. If he puts on more weight, it will naturally slow down his explosiveness, will change some of the things that make him special, in my opinion. Could he put on 5 pounds and be the same? Probably. But you go much more than that, given his frame. I don't think that that's actually helping the cause. So I don't ever expect him to be a bell cow, 30 carry a game kind of guy. The Chiefs would never use a back like that anyway. But he could become a 1B where the primary ball carrier, whether it's Pacheco or somebody else, is taking 15 carries a game and he gets 8 or 10 and catches the third down passes. That's the thing, is he's going to be in the passing game. That's what he's here for. As much as people want to try to force him into being the only back on the team, he's not Jamal Charles. That's not in the cards. He will play a role in a committee. And I think that's really the only way that you can see it happening in Kansas City. Somebody else might try to do that if they were to let him go, but I don't think it would be successful. Dan, any chances the Chiefs keep 7 wide receivers and Thornton is number 7? I do not see any way they are able to keep 7 wide receivers on the 53 this year. No way. They have to probably keep 10 offensive linemen. They might have to take 10 defensive linemen. I think the lines are going to be the factor. But I will say this. I told you I was intrigued about Thornton a few months ago. I'm even more intrigued now. Now it's just the start, and we can't get too excited about OTAs. Somebody gets carried away every year. Somebody becomes the darling and then never does anything come the regular season. But I do think if the chemistry with him and Mahomes continues to grow and continues to be somebody who can make chunk plays, I think it could spell disaster for Sky Moore. And in that case, Thornton might not have to be number 7. He might be number 6, and he might make the roster. We don't know yet. I could see a scenario where they let Sky go and they would bring Sky back immediately to the practice squad because no one will pick him up on waivers, despite catching touchdowns in Super Bowls. And I think the Chiefs would bring him back and try to continue to bring him along. There's some disconnect that is preventing Sky Moore from being the player that they thought he could be. And I am baffled to this day about what that is. So there is a chance for Thornton to make the roster, and I don't think it would have to be number 7. Bottom line. Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller, it is nice to see you almost to year 4. You are the man, and we appreciate your valor and your consistency in being with us. You are the man, and thank you. It's good to see you, pal. Old Pats, thank you for your support. Can someone develop and take Trey Smith's spot? There is a possibility. I mean, development is in the eye of the beholder. And if Trey signs a long-term contract, then I don't think that that's necessarily possible. Trey is a very, very good player. Is he super elite? He's very good. I don't know that I would call him elite, like top 2, top 3 at his position. I think he's probably top 5 or 6. He does work in this offense. There are other players that might be more versed for this zone-heavy offense, which I think they need to get back to and stop dabbling in some things. And I do think that there's a possibility that other players that are better suited to the system, but just can't beat Trey out. So I think they're going to give it a shot. And I think we will know on whether they get a Trey Smith long-term deal done or not. And if they do not, then they feel that they do have something that they can develop and they don't have to go spend what is my guess going to have to be a 21 plus per year $1 million contract to get Trey Smith under contract for the long term. That's what I hope. Knicks fan, nice to see you, buddy. 2 years and counting. Appreciate you being here. It's been a long time. Hope they let Kingsley play. I hope so too. It sounds like he is getting reps with the ones at left guard right now. Caliendo over at right guard because Trey was not practicing last week. We'll see if that changes here in the next couple of days. But I do think they're going to give him a long look at getting into that spot. So I am very, very hopeful. Very hopeful. And I do have confidence in him that he can get that done. So that said, are we any better on the O-line now than we were a year ago? What is Veach and Andy's backup plan in case things go south? They did not have one last year. Thank you, Steve. I think what you see is a starting pair in Juwan Taylor and Jalen Moore that they feel they can go to the season with now, and that they have backups in Wanya Morris, Ethan Driscoll, and eventually Josh Simmons. I don't think they see Josh Simmons as a backup, a guy that's going to play any this year. He could be break glass in emergency. He could be, if he really is that far ahead of schedule and he gets cleared and they think he can play, I think they could make him the swing. But I don't think he should see heavy snaps. I think he needs time to just work that and rehab it. And light work is good. Overwork is bad when it comes to significant knee injuries, especially on offensive line. So I think that's their backup case, hoping that Ethan develops, that they have Wanya as a swing early. Simmons, if he develops, could be a swing, and then they still have Wanya. And then as the interiors, I think they feel pretty good that they felt good starting Caliendo. I did not share that feeling. But they feel like they have Kingsley as well as Norzad, and I hear they like CJ Hansen as well as backups. Now, the other thing is they have Isapole, who I think should make a roster. I don't know that it'll be Kansas City's. I think he's more of a practice squad guy in Kansas City because of the 5 guys that I just mentioned. But I do think Pole is a guy that can play in this league, and I did have him as draftable grade, and I think they would put him onto the practice squad in a heartbeat. Do they think he could go inside too? They might. I don't. I think his size kind of precludes that just in the way that he moves. I would not do that, but they have done the depth, and they're hoping somebody grows into it. And I do think Jalen Moore is the long-term right tackle, not left tackle. That's what I think is the overall plan. Steve, will Noah Williams play at safety? I don't think so. He could. He's good in space. He understands what to do with his eyes. He can guard against some of the pitfalls the young safeties get into because he the system that he's played in. But I think he's a true corner. I don't think it's much of a question, to tell you the truth. I think he can line up there and play tomorrow. And if they had to, Najee Johnson was a former safety. Shamari Connor's former safety. I don't think that Noah would be the first choice to go in there. Bradley, what Chiefs undrafted player could stand out in preseason this year, and like we've seen other guys do in the past? Well, let me do this real quick, and we'll take a look at it together because I always like to show what these guys do. And 1 second. We'll get that set up over here. Boom. Okay, let me remove a couple of things here. Boom. Okay, so undrafted guys on this site, and I use this Our Lads because they do a very good job of keeping it updated. The color that you're looking for is this teal color. This teal color is an undrafted free agent. And so when you look at where there's opportunity and where there's an undrafted free agent, you see a lot of crossovers in the DB group, although I think that is pretty locked down. I find it hard to think any of these players, Mike Glendon, Major Williams, Kevin Knowles, or Melvin Smith, are going to beat out the guys ahead of them onto the roster. Could they make practice squads? Absolutely. And I think I like Majors and I like Melvin, and I think they both can make plays. I think Keziah Izzard is in a similar situation at a position group that is not overly robust. Mike Pennell, Jerry Tillery, Norman Lott, and Chris Jones are your shoe-ins. Has Fabian taken a step forward? Lovett, who I really do like, and I know that Joe Cullen likes. Marlon Tuipulotu, who I've wanted to see in a Chiefs uniform for quite a bit. Has he taken a step forward? I don't know. It could be the last go-around for Siaki Ike if he's motivated, but I think Izzard has a chance to make a dent in that rotation. And as I said, they could have to take 10 defensive linemen. It's a fact. That is a distinct possibility. Now, Mike Dana is the monkey wrench there because he can play tackle and he can play edge. And I do think that this, while they are calling Mike Dana the starter as on the right side, as a lot of the Chiefs refer to, I really do think that for the most part, that's going to be Charles Omenihu. And I do think Ashton Gillotte is going to play a factor. I think his energy and his pass rush will get something done. He's going to hit some brick walls early, but I do think that he will be a guy that come the second half of the year will be making a contribution. The questions in my mind are Felix and maybe Malik pushing, and I think Izzard has a shot. On the offensive side, again, I mentioned Pole. Long shot, obviously, but practice squad, absolutely. Brenningstool, I think, has a shot at making the roster. I think he will show off in some of the preseason. I know he had one nice catch so far. I believe it was off of one Gardner Minshew. But I do think he is in store to make others. The other guy that stands out to me, and it's because I had a draftable grade on him, is Elijah Badger. Elijah Mitchell is the running back, and he's definitely going to be on this roster unless he comes up hurt again. So it's Badger. And I don't think he has a chance at the roster right now. If he makes some kind of giant leap, that could change. But right now, I think he is a shoo-in for this practice squad as the next guy that they could see is growing onto the roster. So those are the guys that I see. You guys let me know what you think. But that's what's popping up to me here right now. So, Joseph, okay. Chiefs keep 7 wide receivers. Who is the last in? Who is on the outside? Okay, I'm going to pull this back up because I should have just left it up because I should have known better. Let's go. Oh, Do we like that one? I'm not sure if we like that one or not. Let me change that real quick and see if I can make that better. Yes, let's go with that. Okay. So in terms of the wide receivers, these three are your starters. I'm sorry, Xavier, Hollywood, Rasheed. Until further notice, and again with the legal situation, that is the further notice that we have. Juju Smith-Schuster is the shoe-in. He's the anchor in terms of older guy in the room to go with Hollywood, to lead the group, to be the guy who knows everything. I think he's in. If he takes a significant slowdown, he's not able to run, that might change, but right now I think he's there. Jalen Royals ain't going anywhere. The rookie's going to have it. So the only slot on the 6 is available is here, and I'm not sure he makes it, but it would be Thornton, Remigio, and Moore for 6 and 7, in my opinion, right now. I don't think Badger's quite there, and he would have to do something like return, and I'm not sure if they're giving him punt return reps or anything. I as much as we've seen Ross and the fan base wants Ross, I just don't see it clicking unless he's made some kind of huge leap in knowledge of the offense. I don't see that happening either. So I think it's up to Remigio and Moore as probably the two guys that could beat out Thornton. But I would say those guys, 2 of the 3 of them, make it as 6 and 7. That's what I see from here. So, Brandon, any chance we trade Minshew or Zappy around the trade deadline? We probably don't need both. That's actually true. I don't think you actually need both. The question is anybody going to see anything from them in the meantime? Is there going to be anything that confirms in in the regular season in particular that they're ready to go? I think they'll both look pretty good in the preseason. Teams will take that with a grain of salt, but it would take a team that's very desperate at that point to trade for either of them, in my opinion, particularly Zappy. I like Zappy more than anybody out there, and I'm not going to give a whole lot up for him. You know what I mean? Because I don't think he's going to get any reps in the regular season. And if the Chiefs thought that he should, they wouldn't have brought in Minshew. I like the concept of Minshew. I don't like the execution of Minshew. We're going to see how he does. But if he comes in, hopefully the Chiefs get up and they start actually using a backup quarterback. Love to see them like give him a bunch of reps, let him kind of go off and see what they could get. I would like that for either of these guys. Thank you, Brendan. Terry, how's Rice going to overcome a felon? I think I already answered that one. Sorry about that. I'm going around in circles here, folks. My fault. What does Rashard Smith offer to the running back room other than it is missing now? And can Rashard Smith be a number 1? Is that what you're looking for? I do not believe Rashard Smith can be a number 1 running back. No. What he offers is acceleration, pass catching, and the ability to make some guys miss. Can he run between the tackles? He did at college. I'm not convinced he can do that in the pros. Not to any great success. He is not, in my opinion, slithery. His vision inside is not exemplary, in my opinion. Dan might disagree with that. But he's not Jamal Charles. And I keep hearing from a lot of people like, he's as fast as Charles. He can accelerate. Yeah, but he doesn't play that position that way. He doesn't have the experience to play the position that way. So I have a very hard time seeing that. Lil Cam, welcome to the memberships. Appreciate you being in here. Hope you're having a good time and enjoy yourself. Make sure you get in the Discord if you're into the Discord thing, and we'll get you running on that. You should get the ability real quick from Frankie. We're going to rack a bit up here quickly, folks. Last call for questions. Sorry if this has already been asked, but any news on Rice's recovery or suspension? Nothing on the suspension. And rumor is that he's back in camp in OTAs, but I don't have anything about his recovery solid yet. So we're waiting patiently for news, and maybe we'll get that here this week. Nice to see you, Gary, one of our mods, one of our old dogs around here. OG Gary, give him a hand. I do. Ryan, is the Chiefs still interested in a trade or a free agent O-lineman before the season starts? I don't think they're going to say no, but I don't know that they're shopping really hard either. You know what I mean? Like they're not going out to the mall. But if they pass something by and it happens to be a deal that they think that they can squeeze in, I don't think anything's off the table at this point, because job number one is to protect Patrick Mahomes, and they got to do that. It cost them another ring, and they can't let it happen again. So I do think that they could be open to an idea. It's going to be about value, I think, though. Scott, will the Chiefs be able to free up any cap, and how would they use it at this point? At this point, the cap would be, to make a trade or to take on something. I don't know. There's a whole lot out there to sign, but we have cut downs. We have post June 1 after OTAs. We have a lot of stuff coming that could change that and make somebody available. Maybe they are interested in it. And the only way that they could really free up cap right now is going to be redoing Chris Jones. The big thing is Trey. They can take Trey from 23 against the cap down to 5 if they want to. More likely around 8 or 10 is my guess. But that's a huge chunk. $15 million in cap space could go a long way. And if we just go take a quick look back at over the cap, just to see like the free agents that are still out there. Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, unsigned. Von Miller, I don't know. Something poetic about Von Miller, who modeled his game after Derek Thomas being in a Chiefs jersey, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith. The Smiths are still out there. Sam Hubbard. I don't think they need Brandon Scherf. They'd be after if they did. I don't think Justin Simmons wants to come. Kendall Fuller's 50 years old, 30 years old now anyway. Just looking at this list, it's, I don't know. Does Douglas have anything left in the tank? I'm not certain. I wouldn't bet the farm on it, that's for sure. Tyron Smith, no thank you. Mike Hilton, no thank you. I just don't see anything here that makes me want to go spend money. So if they free up space, it might be for a trade, or it might be something completely different. I don't know. That's the only thing I can say. And Ronald Darby evidently retired today. He's had a lot of injuries, so I can't blame him. Jordan Whitehead, Jamal Williams. I mean, no. I don't see anything. I don't see anything that makes me want to go out there and snatch him up. Sorry, bud. Let's see. Who do you believe will end up at left tackle? For this year, Terry, I believe that it will be Jalen Moore. I think they might take a look and give a few snaps to Josh Simmons if he's actually ready. But I don't think that they're going to take a risk on rushing him back too early when they just spent the money on Moore and they have the money invested in Taylor. I think next year, in 2025, this year, 366 days from today, I think we're talking about Josh Simmons as the left tackle and Jalen Moore as the right tackle. That's what I think is going to happen. Napoleon Rags, how long will the Chiefs hold on to Hansen and Driscoll without playing them? That's the big question. Do you expect one or both of them to move to the practice squad? I do. Hansen in particular. I think they can get him there. Driscoll, they kept him on the roster all last year because they were scared they couldn't get him through waivers. Nothing's changed that I know of, except maybe he's fallen out of the minds of some other teams. I don't know. So I think Hansen, they might try to go to the practice squad this year. I don't think Driscoll can, unless they do feel that Simmons is going to be able to be on the field at some point this season. They might feel like Wanya is the safer bet and that Driscoll, they can take a chance at trying to release and bring back. They might do some gymnastics with the 53 and try to do that maneuver a few days after initial cut downs. So to keep him, release someone else they feel they can bring back and do that whole flip that they've done in the past. Gary, have you heard if the Chiefs want to bring in another running back in football Germany? I don't know. Or into the Chiefs colors. I'm sure they're open to it. I'm sure they're going to see who gets let go for the post-June ones, and I'm sure they're going to be watching on cutdown day pretty succinctly. Again, it's all going to matter about who's in shape and who looks like what as they start the season in training camp. Thank you guys for all the questions. I very much appreciate it. I'm going to grab one or two more, and we will do this as we wrap it up. And thank you for being here with me solo tonight. Not your normal live stream, but thanks for it. And thanks for all the contributions and the super chats, keeping us going here in the summertime. Knowing the Jets, I don't want anything to come from there. So meaning Breece Hall. And Knicks fan, I understand where you're coming from. I get that. Some things taint players for their careers. That might be one of them, just being a Jet. Lead, right? Nice to see you. Is it me, or do we all of a sudden have a lot of depth across the board? It seems like it. Some of it could be false gold, but the two major ones that we've been worried about in offensive line and wide receiver, definitely they've shored up and they've thrown bodies at it. Volume and depth can make up for some losses. You can keep things going. And I think that's important to have. So very good point. And Nikki, we're going to end with you. Thank you for your question. Would Brainstool clear waivers if they tried to put him on the practice squad? That's going to be the question. I know there are other teams that had draftable grades on him. I don't know why he fell out, and I know that he was taking other calls. For what I heard, there were more than 4. He only mentioned 4, but that's okay. So at least any of those 4, my guess is, yeah, they probably would. Now, if he goes off and has a preseason, like I think he might, then there's probably no way that they get him on there. If he makes big plays in the preseason, they're not going to be able to get him on the practice squad because there was already enough belief. So hopefully they take it easy. And if we find them not targeting him, that may be exactly why. So we're going to take a long look at it. I'm going to have a piece for you tomorrow on my series of guys that I want to highlight. So don't miss that. Thank you for subscribing. If you just met me tonight, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us here at Rogue Nation. That's what we call our insiders, our members here at RGR Football. You can always find me. Dan's going to have film. Gary's going to be back. We're going to do the whole 9 yards. Lot coming this summer. Even though I'll be traveling, you'll see some different stuff from me. I thank you for being here and helping me and supporting us. It's a lot of fun. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.